Well, hello and welcome back. This is Jennifer McGuire, and I hope your December is off to a good start. Today, I am sharing how you can do stamping using your dies. Now, my first example just shows stamping with a die that has lots of layering to it, but my second example shows using the coordinating die to do some stamping. This is very simple to do and a great way to stretch your supplies. I have two very different examples, different styles, but they both use the same technique. Let's start with the fish card using this Waffle Flower Make a Fish die set. Now this die set has lots of little dies that you can use to build a really cool looking fish. I like that Waffle Flower always has unique product designs. I also have a piece of white craft foam. This is the stuff we played with when we were a kid, just plain old white craft foam. It's the same thing that I use to add dimension to my cards. Well, it die cuts beautifully. So I need the fish die cut. But I'm also going to die cut a couple little flower ones just to show you that even tiny little detailed dies will cut beautifully with this craft foam. I'll link to the particular craft foam that I've found a lot of success with. I'm also using this Couture Creations adhesive paper. This is a thicker adhesive paper than Stick It. So I'm using this today because I want my die cuts to stay in place when I die cut it, which I'll show you in a moment. But what I'm doing here is putting a piece of white cardstock onto that adhesive paper. So now what I have in my die cut machine here is white cardstock with adhesive on the back of it. Now on the front of my white cardstock here, I'm laying down all the pieces from the Make a Fish die set, and I'm running it through my machine. Now since this adhesive paper is a little bit thicker, you can see that it cut through the paper on top and the adhesive, but not the release paper on the back. So all my die cuts are staying in there nicely. So it's basically like stickers on a sticker sheet. Now I cut it from white cardstock, and I'm just using Copic markers to quickly add color to these. Now you could use colored cardstock and die cut all these dies from different colors, but I thought that would take too long. Instead, I'm using white cardstock and coloring the different pieces whatever colors I want, and this saves me a lot of time. You don't need to use Copics, you could use absolutely any markers for that. I just use Copics since it's the fastest for me. So now I'm starting to put the pieces together, and you can see I just pulled this piece right out from the release paper over there on the right, and I can just pop it in place like a sticker because it has the adhesive on the back. Many different double-sided adhesives would work for this technique. I know Be Creative tape would work great, but here you can see it's basically I have a sheet of stickers and I'm just putting them in place. Now the Waffle Flower die comes with a guide on how to use this. You can find it over on their website, but it shows you how to put all these pieces in place. It took me about 10 minutes to arrange all the pieces once I had them colored, but man, the final piece is definitely worth it. It looks so clever, so creative, and so colorful. Now some of the pieces are meant to layer, and some of the pieces are kind of meant to pop in place like puzzle pieces. Now after I have all my pieces down, I'm using my Aqua Shimmer pen to add some shimmer just to different elements on the fish so that it has a little bit of sparkle to it. I'm also using a white jelly roll pen to add white dots. I usually use a Signo Uniball pen, a white one, but these jelly roll pens have a finer tip. In fact, the set that I recommend has 3 different sizes. I'm using the smallest one for this so I can get tiny little white dots, and I'm following the pierced dot pattern in the die that the die created on the paper to know where to put my dots. Then I'm also putting crystal glaze onto just different parts of the little fish just to give some clear dimension here and there. Okay, so now that we have finished our fish, you can see here all the color, the shine, and the dimension that we have. It's time to create the background. I wanted to make it look like there were other fish in this pond, so I decided to use that die cut that we created out of foam to stamp a background. So all the fish will be the same shape and size. I'm putting a little bit of tape runner on the back of my craft foam piece and just temporarily adhering it to a block. You can later remove that adhesive from your block very easily. I'm using Hero Art's white dye ink for this. This gives just kind of a subtle ghost-like look. I'm going to first stamp the main fish. The fish that we just decorated on the left will actually get glued over this one, but I wanted a starting point on where to stamp all the rest of my fish. This white ink is beautiful. It's a little more subtle than, say, like a white pigment ink, and it dries faster. It gives very smooth results. Now, this block that you see me using here, this is actually like a stamping block from Fiskars. It has little feet on it. I grabbed it because it's large and works great for this. If you don't have a stamping tool and are looking for something that will kind of help you control your stamping better, this is a good one because you can put it right over your paper and rest it on the feet, then press down to stamp. It's really quite handy to have. Okay, so now I wanted to add some little bubbles here and there. Now I wanted the stamping to kind of match my little fish, so I actually die cut some tiny little circles from craft foam using that fish die set, and I'm going to temporarily adhere the 3 little craft foam dots onto my acrylic block, and I'm going to stamp with these to make tiny little bubbles. If you have little round stamps, you could use those too, but I wanted to show you how you could use the die set. Now you can see the craft foam stamps beautifully. It really stamps quite well, and I found that it stamps great with different kinds of inks. Pigment ink, dye ink, you really can try anything. So think of any die you have, you can turn into a stamp by die cutting with craft foam. Now I just use alcohol swabs to clean the adhesive off of my acrylic blocks, and I've never had a problem. Now this time I'm going to stamp some bubbles using a pool ink so I can get a tone-on-tone look. This is the Waffle Flower New Fish in the Pond ink, and it's perfect for those tiny little dots. Now I'm going to glue this onto the front of a note card. You can see my first version over there on the left. I didn't like the dark blue, so I changed it out. I change things often. I just usually don't show it on camera just to save time. And then I added tiny little Tonic crystal glaze drops around so it looks like even more bubbles. So there you can see that layered colorful fish, lots of dimension, and then it looks like there's other fish kind of swimming in the background. And by the way, I wanted to show you what that sentiment that says keep swimming is from. It's the Waffle Flower Make a Fish stamp set. Lots of messages here that go great with that fish. I like the sentiment keep swimming. It's a great encouragement card. Okay, now for the second card. It's a completely different style, but again, it used stamping using dies. Now, I wanted to start by showing you the 2 stamp sets I used on this. This is the Waffle Flower Little Baker stamp set, and it has the cutest little baking girls on here with some really fun sentiments. I thought the one baker looked like Lila, so I decided to use that one today. And I'm also using the Waffle Flower Stitched Love stamp set. I love these faux stitch stamps. They are fantastic. You can do little pears or even a little cluster of strawberries. But today I'm going to use the 2 hearts, a big heart and a small heart. And then I will use their coordinating dies. So I use the coordinating dies for the big heart and the small heart, and I die cut it from craft foam just as I did earlier. Now I have a long acrylic block here from Gina K Designs. I love this long block. It has grid lines so you can really easily line things up with your background. On it I put some tape runner, and now I'm adding my little craft foam on there so that I created my own little border of hearts. Now I'm going to stamp this once again with that Hero Arts white dye ink. You really could use any ink for this. And I'm just going to do a border across the bottom. Then I will continue this and repeat until I have covered most of this card. Now, I had mentioned that this block is great because it has those grid lines and it's long. So what I do is I straighten my paper up with the grid lines on my work surface. Then I use the grid lines on my block to line it up. So if you look at my card, you can see there's white hearts with the faux stitching stamped on it. So we did the white with the foam die cuts. Now I'm using the stamps themselves to stamp right on top. I'm using a Waffle Flower New Fish in the Pond ink. It's like a soft pool colored ink. And I'm stamping this faux stitched hearts right on top of the white hearts that we had. I had to cut out a lot of that because my head gets in the way, because you need to look through the block to make sure that you line it up every time. Now once I finish my background, it's time to add a sentiment. I use this Take Care message from an older Waffle Flower stamp set. This one has these floral kitties on it. I just think they're so unique and so much fun. I stamp Take Care onto a white cardstock strip. I trimmed down my heart panel and I glued it to the top of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white note card. I also glued a solid dark pool cardstock piece to the bottom. And I'm using foam tape to add that take care strip right over where the two cardstocks meet. I also stamped and colored that cute little girl from the Little Baker stamp set. Just some simple stamping and some simple coloring. And I used the die to die cut her out and added her to the card also. Now I'm going to use Tonic Ebony Black Nuvo drops to make her eyes darker and give them a little bit of dimension. Now I actually moved some of my Nuvo drops into this little fine tip bottle. And I've been testing this out, and so far I find that the Nuvo drops work in here. Now, I wouldn't put all of my Nuvo drops into these bottles, but I'm thinking about doing black, white, and then the clear crystal glaze so that I can get fine tip application. Still, I'm testing it out. So far, so good. I'll let you know in the future. And I put tiny little drops on her eyes so that they have a bit of dimension and stand out even more. I'm also adding a bit of shimmer with my Aqua shimmer pen, so there's a little bit of sparkle here and there. And there you can see the fun background made with the coordinating dies. So there you have a way of using your dies to create foam stamps. I've done this in the past, a little variation, so I will link to that video here in the middle, so if you want to check it out, you can. And I'll have another variation of this technique coming soon. Thanks for watching. I link all the supplies in the description below. If you have any questions, head over to my blog, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.